There was a man named Gabriel who collected tomorrows like other people collect coins. He had thousands of them, stacked neatly in his mind, each one promising the perfect moment to finally live the life he'd been postponing. Tomorrow he would call his mother. Tomorrow he would start that business. Tomorrow he would tell Maria he loved her. Tomorrow he would take that trip, write that book, learn that language, become the person he'd always meant to be. But today was for waiting, for preparing, for one more day of playing it safe. Gabriel was 42 and had perfected the art of delay. Not because he was lazy. A work hit hard, showed up on time, did everything that was expected of him. But the dreams that lived in the quiet spaces of his heart, the ones that whispered his real name when no one else was listening, those he saved for tomorrow, because tomorrow was safer. Tomorrow had no risk of failure. Tomorrow never disappointed him because tomorrow never actually came. He'd loved Maria since college. 20 years of friendship, of almost moments, of chances that passed like trains he watched from the platform but never boarded. 100 times he'd almost told her. The words would form in his mouth. His heart would pound like fists against his chest. And then fear would ask a simple question. What if she doesn't feel the same? So he'd swallow the confession and promise himself he'd say it tomorrow. When the timing was perfect, when he was more successful, more confident, more worthy of her love. His mother called every Sunday. The same gentle voice asking about his week, telling him about hers, reminding him she was getting older and wouldn't mind a visit. Gabriel always meant to go. Always promised himself that next month he'd drive the 3 hours to her house, spend real time with her, not just phone calls squeezed between obligations. But work was busy. Life was complicated. There would be time later. There was always later. The notebook sat in his desk drawer for 15 years. A business plan for a small bookstore cafe. The kind of place where people could lose themselves in stories over coffee that tasted like comfort. He'd written it at 27, full of passion and possibility. But opening a business was risky. What if it failed? What if he lost everything? So he'd kept his safe job, the one that paid bills, but slowly drained the color from his days, and told himself he'd take the leap tomorrow, when conditions were perfect, when fear didn't feel so loud. Then one Tuesday morning, Gabriel's phone rang at dawn. His sister's voice, breaking. Their mother had died in her sleep. Peaceful, the doctor said. No pain, just gone. And all Gabriel could think about, standing in his kitchen as morning light exposed the emptiness of his life, was the visit he'd promised to make tomorrow. The tomorrow that would never come. The Sundays he'd spent half listening while planning next week, next month, next year, never realizing that time wasn't infinite. That mothers don't wait forever, that someday the phone stops ringing and all you're left with is the silence of everything you meant to say. At the funeral, Maria held his hand. She'd driven 6 hours to be there. Because that's who she was. Someone who showed up. Someone who didn't wait for perfect moments because she understood that perfect moments are just ordinary moments. We decide to stop postponing. They stood together in the rain, and Gabriel felt 20 years of unsaid words burning in his throat. This time, he thought. This time, I'll tell her. But fear whispered its familiar lie. Not now. She's here for your grief, not your allow. It would be inappropriate. Selfish. Wait for a better time. Tomorrow, maybe. When things aren't so heavy. When the moment is right. So he stayed silent. And Maria eventually let go of his hand, told him to call if he needed anything, and drove back to her life. The life she was building with someone else. Someone braver. Someone who'd said today instead of tomorrow. 3 weeks later, Gabriel saw her engagement announcement on social media. The photo showed her laughing, radiant, wrapped in the arms of a man who'd had the courage Gabriel had spent 2 decades lacking. The caption was simple. Sometimes you just know. And Gabriel understood with crushing clarity that she'd been waiting. Not forever. Not indefinitely. But long enough. Long enough for him to be brave. Long enough for him to choose her over his fear. But he'd chosen tomorrow instead. And tomorrow had chosen someone else. That night, Gabriel pulled the notebook from his drawer. The business plan. 15 years of dust and delay. He read through it, with tears blurring the words, seeing not just a dream deferred but a life unlived. Every tomorrow he'd collected had been a theft, not from the future, but from the present. Every time he'd said someday, he'd been saying not today. Every time he'd waited for perfect conditions, he'd been letting imperfect, beautiful, irreplaceable moments slip through his fingers like water. He thought about his mother, who'd died waiting for a visit, about Maria, who'd loved him until she couldn't wait anymore, about the years he'd spent preparing to live instead of actually living. And he made a decision that terrified him more than any risk he'd avoided. The next morning, Gabriel quit his job, used his savings to sign a lease on a small corner space downtown, started building the bookstore cafe that had lived in his drawer for 15 years. It was terrifying. It was imperfect. It was 15 years late. But it was today. The store opened 6 months later. It wasn't perfect. The coffee machine broke constantly. The shelves weren't level. Some days he barely broke even. But it was his, and it was now, not tomorrow, not someday. Now. He never got Maria back. The tomorrow had expired, and someone braver had claimed it. He never got another Sunday with his mother. That time had run out, while he was busy planning to use it later. But he learned something that changed every day that followed. Tomorrow is a lie we tell ourselves to avoid the discomfort of today. It's a parking lot where dreams go to die slowly, painlessly, while we convince ourselves we're being responsible, being careful, being smart. But we're not being smart. We're being cowards. We're retrading the life we could be living for the fantasy of a perfect future that never arrives. The truth is brutal and liberating. You don't have time, none of us do. The people you love are aging while you plan the perfect visit. The dreams you're nurturing are withering while you wait for ideal conditions. The words you're resaving for the right moment are dying in your throat while life moves forward without your participation. Tomorrow isn't promised. Tomorrow isn't even real. It's just today's excuse for not being brave enough to live right now. If you're waiting for perfect conditions to start, you'll wait forever. If you're saving your love for when you're worthy, you'll never give it. If you're postponing your dreams until you're ready, you'll die with your music still inside you. Stop collecting tomorrows. They're worthless currency. They can't buy back time. They can't resurrect moments. They can give you another chance with people who stopped waiting. Whatever you're postponing, do it today. Imperfectly, scared, unprepared. Do it anyway, because tomorrow isn't coming to save you. Tomorrow is just another word for never.